You know, I was saying to my girlfriend the other day, I think I'm gonna chill on the Breath of the Wild sequel videos for a while, maybe until we get some more news. And that decision was made because I felt I had covered all worth covering, but then it dawned on me, out of all of the mandatory topics for a Zeldatuber to cover, there was one I hadn't discussed yet. Where is Ganondorf? Now, I think I may have touched on this briefly across a few videos, but I've never actually done a video with my full collective thoughts, and part of the reason for that is because my opinion on this could change on any given day, and the other part of the reason is because I don't necessarily have my own quote-unquote theory, but I do have my own ideas, which are kind of theories. Recently, there has been one theory/idea that I do firmly believe in, and that is exactly what I will be sharing today. So, be sure to go grab yourself a snack or drink and send them in to get featured right here, and if you are new around here or maybe just haven't already subscribed, you should consider that. We're close to 100k, I'd appreciate it very much. And let's now discuss my theory on where Ganondorf might be in Breath of the Wild sequel. Okay, assuming you saw the thumbnail and, well, recognized the location in it, which is okay if you don't, as I'm about to tell you, I believe that Ganondorf's tomb, chamber, bedroom, whatever you want to call it, may be below the Arbiters Grounds found in the Gerudo Desert. Now, to those who have only played Breath of the Wild, or more to the point, to those who haven't played Twilight Princess, which you totally should if you haven't, this location will just appear as some ruins found in the desert. But to those who have played Twilight Princess, this name will send chills down your spine. The Arbiters Grounds first appeared in Twilight Princess and was once a colossal prison and execution ground for the most evil of criminals in Hyrule. Years prior to the events of Twilight Princess, the King of Evil himself was imprisoned here and sentenced to execution. This was actually following the events of Ocarina of Time, after Link is sent back in time to warn everyone of Ganondorf's ill intent and betrayal to the king. This was the result. He was due to be executed, but the attempt was botched. The sages thrusted the Sword of Six Sages through his chest, but the power within him through the Triforce of Power allowed him to break free from his shackles, and in a moment of madness, Ganondorf lunged and murdered a sage. In a panic, the rest of the sages banished him to the Twilight Realm via the Mirror of Twilight, a relic also stored within the grounds, far from civilization. This is just the main horrifying tale from these grounds. I haven't even gone into the Spirit of Death Sword or the long dead soldiers of the past. These grounds were used for the baddest of the bad, and were the very location that the royal family saw fit for containing Ganondorf. Well, rather, the only location they saw fit. What do we see in the reveal trailer for the sequel to Breath of the Wild? Ganondorf, mummified, trapped, almost in an isolated location, out of reach from everyone, deep below the ground. We know the Arbiter's Grounds had many layers to it, both going upwards and below the ground. A very similar description to the Arbiter's Grounds in Twilight Princess, but allow me to explain how this could work in Breath of the Wild's time frame. Off the bat, we would say that this location in Breath of the Wild is just a reference. It simply is. The game is literally made up of references. Tingel Island, Gleeok Bridge, Rauru Hillside, Lake Saria, the Breach of Demise, and so many more. You get the point. But what if we say it was more? More than just a reference. And to clarify, yes, in Breath of the Wild this is solely just a reference, but what if, and this is such a big what if in the sequel the developers used some of their seemingly innocent references placed in the first game and actually turned them into something more in the sequel, using them to expand the already created world, as we do know we are going to be playing in the same Hyrule. This theory/idea of mine will rely on this being a thing, but if you roll with it, trust me, this will make so much sense. To clarify something else real quick, we are trying to provide a possible answer as to where this is, not why or how he got here or what he did this time, just where. I will touch on the reason as to why briefly, but not to answer it, as that's ultimately not what this video is about. We're looking at where. As we know, Ganondorf hasn't actually appeared over a long period of time, ever. I mean, in terms of the expansive Zelda timeline. Despite being the most recognizable villain of the series, he only appears in Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, and The Wind Waker as this tall, humanoid-like form, the Gerudo King, or King of Evil as he is known. This is all the same man in fact, not different incarnations. In Twilight Princess, we are told of his botched execution prior to the events of the game, which were a result of Ocarina of Time's ending. This takes place shortly after Ocarina of Time, and a little while before Twilight Princess. In The Wind Waker, Waker, Ganondorf himself talks about his land being taken from him, his people being taken. This is referring to what he lost due to the gods flooding Hyrule, because the Hero of Time wasn't present to battle him in that timeline of events following Ocarina of Time. This Ganondorf, however, couldn't be that same man, as he ultimately dies at the end of both of those timelines, and he doesn't even appear as Ganondorf in the Downfall timeline. But what we could be seeing here is his eventual reincarnation, as we know the cursed demise laid down was to reincarnate evil again and again, just not in a specified form. We see Ganon, Ganondorf, we see Botw, it's just evil will be reincarnated. Now, it doesn't matter when he was reincarnated or imprisoned, just that he was. We can clearly see that the King of Evil has become a shriveled up corpse on a lifeline, mummified and encrusted. Regardless of when this actually happened, the matter of the fact is that it did happen and he was brought here. I'd assume it was a significant amount of time before Breath of the Wild though, as he does appear very, well, dead. We can't even say what he did, but presumably he attempted to attack the kingdom like times past and wasn't successful. Either way, he managed to get himself imprisoned, and where did the royal family once imprison the worst of the worst? The Arbiters Grounds. But why specifically there? Why not within the jail cells of their castle, or the popular theory of him being directly underneath the castle, where the Hylian army would technically be most present, central Hyrule? Well, that is because, as previously mentioned, the baddest of the bad were too dangerous to be kept close to civilization. Ganondorf himself was once brought here to the Arbiters Grounds and almost broke free. If that happened anywhere close to the people of Hyrule, all hell could break loose. To help explain why the Arbiters Grounds would make sense for Ganondorf's whereabouts, if we take a look at another evil that was contained within the grounds, Death's Sword, we can see something similar going on here. Death's Sword is an ancient demon bounded with this massive blade, and it is contained, or rather held down, with these talisman. Containing the demon, it is still alive and present, just contained. When Link cuts one of these ropes, Death's Sword is released. Now, it's not a one-for-one idea, but I think that something similar may be going on here. Instead of talisman, it is this green, supernatural hand containing Ganondorf, but not just containing, keeping him alive, but contained. Likely to hold the reincarnation process, preventing another Ganondorf from being born into the world. An attempt to break the curse placed by demise, or a loophole if you like. Although the whole blocking reincarnation is a theory in itself, but the point I'm getting at is, when we have seen Ganondorf being held in prison, it was the Arbiter's Grounds, an isolated prison far into the desert, away from civilization. The only place seen fit for the task. I'm guessing that over the potential thousands of years that he has been down here, the Arbiter's Grounds on the surface became abandoned or destroyed and eventually filled with sand. I mean, in Twilight Princess, they were actually already abandoned, so maybe the ruins just became more abandoned, I guess? Or more to the point, filled with sand, destroyed, whatever. And we are assuming that this whole sand fill thing happened after he was put here, by the way. But because this chamber, or tomb for Ganondorf, was kept a secret of the royal family deep within the grounds, it wasn't considered, leaving Ganondorf deep below the ground. This theory, slash idea, slash conspiracy theory is a bit of a mess, but I don't really know how to present it any other way. Additional things to consider would be the alleged Gerudo text flowing to the Green Hand. In my opinion, this has nothing to do with Ganondorf himself, as the hand is holding him down, not on his side, perhaps both containing him and keeping him alive. I believe this hand could be connected to the location above, the Gerudo Desert in this case, but like a lot of all of this theory, that is purely an idea. In fact, maybe this isn't a theory at all, and rather just an idea, but definitely one to think about and consider. Another thing to consider is that the royal family sent him here once, but to be executed. That backfired massively, almost dooming the kingdom entirely if it wasn't for the sage's quick plan of action. I think that this time around they could have had the same idea to take him there, but rather than execute him, as he may have not been sent here this time around for the same reasons, but definitely for the same amount of threat to the kingdom, they decided to contain him, sealing him whilst keeping the king barely alive, preventing another from forming, using a technique used elsewhere in the grounds, also preventing his divine powers from being activated by an attempt on his life. Oh, and to answer the question of what's with the cave paintings, ruins, and need for a large mammal, well, the ruins could just be left over from creating this chamber, and I know there is a theory out there that these are Zonai ruins, and that could be true. Maybe the Zonai helped build it. who knows? That's another theory entirely, considering we know next to nothing about the Zonai. The creature could be because you just physically need something to get you down there. It could be that far below it. And as for the cave painting, this one is suggested to be Ganondorf. This could be a slight hint to what's to come. This could have been painted here on purpose to indicate what is down below. I guess if true, the only question remaining would be, how do Princess Zelda and Link gain access? Well, my bet would be that they have to excavate the ruins of the Arbiters Grounds for the help of the Sheikah, similar to how they excavated the Divine Beasts. That, or perhaps along with a secret passageway to the tomb within the Arbiters Grounds, there was also a second passageway elsewhere for a more discreet entrance. The 8th heroine, anyone? To conclude, my theory/idea is that Ganondorf is in fact somewhere below the long lost ruins of the Arbiter's Grounds in Breath of the Wild. And just to clarify, this theory/idea was more just to provide another view on the whole situation of where is Ganondorf, not necessarily to take down others, as I am fully aware the likelihood is he's below Hyrule Castle. I just find it fun to provide other points of view, as ultimately that's kind of what theories are about. Not turning down other ideas and not just sticking to one specific idea. I think all points of view are important. And that come the sequel, this location, and maybe others as well, will be turned from cool little references into genuine pieces of lore and history, revealing to us a secret that's been hiding deep below the surface, now catching up to Hyrule. Thanks a ton for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to drop a like and consider subscribing. Much appreciated, folks. What do you think of this little mini theory/conspiracy theory/guessing game theory on Ganondorf's whereabouts in the sequel to Breath of the Wild? Could the Gerudo King be deep below the long lost Arbiter's Grounds, or could he be somewhere else? Please remember, this is more of just an idea, hence why I haven't put in the title Zelda Theory, as I normally would. Let me know what you think in the comments, and look out for my replies. As always, a huge heartfelt thank you goes out to all of my supporters across Patreon and YouTube. I cannot express to you enough how helpful and appreciated the support is. If you'd like to join them here at the end of all of my videos, get yourself a shout out upon joining, and more, then consider supporting via Patreon or YouTube. Again, thanks for watching, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.